Well, welcome. Thanks for coming. Thanks for the opportunity of talking to you. And here, I just want to know your story. Because I know a lot of us, we go through our trials. And, sometimes people see us, living this easygoing life, and they want, oh, he or she have it all good. But I just want you to tell me your story, from where you're coming from as a child and, your vision that you see and coming to this country. Go ahead.
That's a whole lot. That's so sad. Well, ever since I was a child, I had dreams of coming to America. And then my father came. And then I knew that there was an opportunity for me to, it would be a great opportunity for me to come if my father is here. So I always pray that when I come to America, I was gonna get married, I was gonna get a house, gonna have business, I was gonna be rich. and and go to school because back home if you don't have O levels, A levels, you can't go to college. So finally, my dream came true. I came to America when I was about turning 21. Um, and then I came here. So that was the start of an adventure.
Okay, okay, okay. So, yes, so tell me about some of those adventures.
Well, when
And
I
a matter of fact, I want you to dig a little bit more in your youthful days growing up in Jamaica, because I know where you were living. I know you have to carry water from distance, and all. I need to know all about that. Where you're coming from as a child.
oh my God, back in Jamaica, it was like, oh, as far as I can remember as a child, I remember when we first moved to that era, there weren't any water there. There weren't any pipe there. So we have to go to Blood Lane to get water. That was like about, I'm just estimating it, maybe 3 miles. We have to go carry water. And we have to carry the water on our head with buckets. So there were small buckets. There were the gallon like milk bucket, like with jug that you use to carry the water. So I used to carry the big one, like they call them a keg. The biggest one I carry, I put it on my head, and then I have another one because the bigger the bucket, the less trips you have to make.
Oh, smart, smart. Okay, okay, that's what's
And
up.
the smaller one you have to make like eight. With the big one you have to make like four to put the, because four of the big ones would quarter tank, and then you need to do 12 of them to fill the drum.
Hmm.
And so that's what I used to do to carry the water for miles around. And then I remember when I we were there too, we didn't have gas stove at the time, and we didn't have oil stove. I remember we used to use wood. First we used to use wood to cook on, then we used the coal to cook on, and then it goes up to when we have the gas. But that's how I remember my childhood. We have to go chop wood. I remember go getting wood from the bushes,
Mm.
and we chop the wood and stuff. Even the yard, we chop it with the machete. We chop the grass in the yard, so we didn't have any lawn person come in, landscaper doing it. We chop the when the weed grows, we chop the grass, and we use the rake and we rake up the leaves, and yeah, we were
But
doing all that
but when
stuff
you
with
say
the broom.
rake, I don't want you to pretty it up, because no, you're prettying it up, because I know rake was something that would be hard for us
Yeah,
to
because
afford. You'd cut some little twigs,
of
put them
course.
together to sweep the yard, because yeah, tell me to come on, don't try and sugarcoat it. Give me the raw, you know.
Well, that's raw for me. I remember when I had to chop the thing. We didn't have rake like there. They have the hard one, the funny looking one. And plus too, when we used to clean the house, we use a coconut brush. We never use
So
um
for those people who know about coconut water that you drink,
yeah, the
yeah, but
coconut water
you
that you drink.
you
Well,
dry it.
the husk of it, you
Mm-hmm.
chop it off. And then you use the top part or the bottom part, and inside of it, you got the coconut. But the top part of it, you just cut it just enough at the top so you could get that little rough part. It's the round part of it, that the husk of it, and you use it as a a brush. So when we used to clean, we used to wash the floors on our all fours. We got on our knees, we wash the floor first, and then we dye it. And after we dye it and the dye stained the floor, then we would put polish on it, and we polish it, and then we shine it afterwards. And then when we shine that, we use the cloth to make it shiny and high gloss.
So you could see your shadow when you walk. So you could
see your shadow. And if you didn't do it right, your mother is going to make you go back again and do that thing because it didn't do right. And cleaning house was you move everything from the wall and you sweep out behind it. Everything has to be clean from behind the stuff. You know, I see people clean nowadays. You wonder what they clean.
And the curtain.
Please.
And also you have to cobweb, you know.
You know, we do the cobwebs, you have to wash the curtains, and you know, people don't really do that much now. I noticed some people would never wash their curtains here, but it was a regular thing. Everything has to be washed like on a weekly basis. My mother is like, she have us, and then she would wash the sheets, and then you have to iron the sheets, and then I have to wash my siblings, the younger ones. We take care of each other. My older brother used to take care of us when our mother has to go to the market or go to work. When she come back, the house was clean, and he would put us on the veranda. We don't have porch. We have veranda. And we sit on the veranda, and you know, and then there were steps, like 8 stairs, flight of stairs. There was no guardrail. So that's what I remember from my childhood. A lot of little things, they were so different. And we didn't have bathroom back then. They had like a hot house in the back.
Latrine.
They call it latrine. Whatever.
Otherwise, pit. In Jamaican term, pit toilet.
They had the pit, but we didn't have the. We had the pit was there, but we had the bucket. I remember we had the chimney, and then they got the pail because the older ladies, they used the pail because the pail was taller and the little chimney. And in the morning you pee at night, and in the morning you get up and you have to go to throw the pee in the pit, or if you poop you put it in the pit. Everything was totally different.
Wow.
When we were growing up, and then as life changed, then we started growing it. Then they built a bathroom, and then we had a shower because we used to bathe outside. Sometimes it was like in the open air, but it was like with bush. And then they have zinc where they would put up because, you know, as you start to get older, you have men peeping next door at you. And we have a tenement yard. So anytime I remember.
What is a tenement yard? Because
tenement yard
for those people, some of these people watching, they don't know what tenement yard is.
Tenement yard would be like you have a 3-family house, but ours was different. It wasn't like a 3-family. It was like a bunch of rooms in the house. We didn't have no kitchen, bathroom, and all that stuff. We just have like a living room and the bedrooms. And that's how it was in the tenement yard. And they would have like the kitchen and the toilet in the backyard where everybody used that. So when you live in the tenement yard, that's what basically it was. So you will find like maybe 2 or 3 families. Three families live on one side of the house because the other family have 2 rooms, the other one have 3 rooms. And when you have it set up like that, you would have like the boys in one room or the girls in one room. And I remember we used to sleep in the same bed as kids, you know, before everything started changing. But when I remember when I started to turn like a teenager and the boys turned teenager, they started to use like a sofa or a little bed where they could sit in. But basically it was like, yeah, it was so different. It's a whole different lifestyle where now everybody has to have their own room. It was not like that. Everybody was in the same room, sharing 2 rooms, that the parents, adult in one and the kids would be in the other. And it was such a different lifestyle growing up. And I remember, you know, we used to love to cook. We always have a boat. They call it rowboat. So when we cook dumplings and we go to the bushes, and that's the thing too. There are so many food properties that you could get food from. If you don't have any money, there's big land, you go get gooseberry, mango, soursop, and they have sugar cane and all these things you go to the bushes and get. And then there's breadfruit and there's ackee. So we used to go pick ackee and then sell the ackee, but my mother couldn't know about these things, what we were doing, because she would have killed us. So we go get them, and then there's a pond. They go to the pond and they catch the fish. I remember me and my friends, we would climb the tree, we get the thing. I was the best climber. If I tell you how much I could climb, nobody would believe me now, but you had to be there to see. I was the best climber. Nobody could ever beat me climbing a coconut tree. Don't ask me. The tallest, biggest tree, I am at the top of it. No boy could beat me, man. And so anytime we go in bush, they want me to come. My friends say, come on, Needle. They called me Needle back then. And I climbed that coconut tree and I just ripped the coconut off. It was amazing. I was so athletic. I could jump. I could scale a fence like any boys. And even when I was growing up too, I was the bully beater. First of all, I couldn't fight when I was little. I used to cry a lot because everybody teased me. I was a crybaby because everything bothers me. I'm a very super sensitive kid. But I've always cared about people. I've always think that when I see my siblings getting beaten, I was asked my mom and my mother not to beat them, and I cried for them, and stuff like that. But when I go to school and I see that start to happen, I remember the first time this girl pushed me in this thorn. We call it maca. So we call it maca back in Jamaica, but for the American audience, it's thorns. But then the girl pushed me in. I was maybe about 5 or 6 years old. And at that time, I remember saying that I am going to be the world's greatest fighter. They all laughed at me. And I cried. By the time I was 10, I beat that girl so badly that my brother had to call me and his friend had to call me to stop. I was like having her like George Foreman or they got a little shop. Like they little bodega, but it's not no bodega. These things is like a shop is made with little wood and a little zinc. So we call them shops. There's nothing fancy like here. So we go to the shop, we buy little flour, little sugar, and little things what they have there. Yes, we buy powder and a half of sugar and a big jill. Some couple call it big jill, like a little 3 ounces or quarter ounce of oil. Some people call it big jill. And whatever they call it, and you get that little bit of oil that you pay for, and even salt. You go buy a little bit of salt, a little bit of this. Now you don't see that here.
Quarter pound of butter.
Quarter pound of butter, yes, and half a pound of this,
and as we would say in Jamaica, dirty gal.
Dirty gal mackerel. And you have to go buy some dirty gal and the bully beef. Oh my goodness, there's corned beef, bully beef. And I remember when I come here and I was asking for bully beef, they didn't know what I was talking about. So that was too funny. But I remember those days. And we go to a beach a lot, but we used to run to the beach. That's how I started running. My brother, I used to cry because we have to run from Glendovan, from Hendon Top, Glendovan. Then we have to go to I think Dunbar. No.
Yeah, Paradise Dunbar. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a place I forgot where
Top Road.
Top Road. There's a place that we have to go before Melbourne. We have to run there. Then afterward, we have to catch the bus from there to take us all the way to Upper Meggy Top. And I was like, I cried every day because they ran like about 2 or 3 miles just to catch that bus at a certain time, and because my hair have to comb in the morning, because I have a lot of hair and it was thick. I remember crying, my hair break every comb. And I cried every morning. When they finished with that, then my brother said, come on, we have to go. And one hold me in the left and one hold me on the right, and they dragged me. So I cry every day. I come back and complain how they dragged me, and just to catch that bus to go to school. But that was like, when I look at those things, and then we have so much fun because we used to play merry-go-round. We do all these kind of games, which we don't see kids do anymore. We used to play, I remember, where you're from, England, what's your trade, lemonade, set to work, and you do something that either you're a singer, you're a dancer, you're whatever, and they have to guess what you're doing. And and we do 1, 2, 3 red light, and we do I am in a well. That sometimes that get a little bit of naughty.
How many feet deep?
How many feet deep? And we like to take you. And the guys, if they like a girl or the girl like the guy, they would say, "Oh, I like the girls would say." The guy would say like they like Tommy, and they said Tommy, and they said with a what? So with a kiss, so Tommy, you have to kiss him to take him out of the well. So they get and then they said with a Roomba because they whine on each other. But those are the little games that they play. But then they were cricket, and then we played football, which people call soccer, but it's, we just love that. We played it a lot, and we would do it barefooted, and the thing is, I used to run barefoot on the ground, and it didn't bother me, but now I can't even walk outside. I'm like acting like I'm tender, but I miss those days when you could run and play.
But even some of the games, when you think about this other one they call rounders, where you'd at the base, that is the same thing as what you call it here again, baseball.
Baseball, yeah.
But in Jamaica,
It's different.
we grew up playing rounders.
Yeah.
So where people would show the ball, you hit
And
it
you
with your
hit
hand
it
and
and then you
run to the
Yes,
bounds.
you run, yeah.
You know, so only if we grew up knowing that was a sport in America that, you know, some of us could take on some of those games, you know.
And not even, as you mentioned that, to the thing that I found with all these scooter and skater, what they have here, I remember we had them back in Jamaica. They build them with wood and bearings from
Exactly,
the car
yeah,
and the
exactly.
tires, and they would, I remember used to go and they sit on the wood. They put the wood across, and then they have the gear like this, and then you go down the hill, and they would step on the rubber to stop it. And they have the same one too. They have the one that they build and you stand up on it, you put your foot on it, the scooter. And then, so we have all the upright one and the flat one that you sit on. And I come here and I see them selling these things. They engineer it better and they make money from it. And I'm like, we were doing all those things on
From
the
I was a
skateboard.
kid.
From
Yeah.
we built our own
Push
toys.
cart, push
cart. We built our own toys, and that's the thing I remember. I remember when I want a pillow, I made my own pillow. So we were very ingenious when it comes to making whatever we have, we use it and we live.
As our grandmother would say, use your hand and
Make fashion.
No, ton fashion.
Ton fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all those things, to come from that and to see where I am now, I'm like, oh my goodness, it would be so hard for me to ever go back to the way how things were, because it's hard work. Now I get so lazy now, I don't want to even bend and do anything anymore. Like, you go down your knee, my knee hurts anyways. So you can't even do that. No, I remember we were so lazy because we didn't want to do that, but we weren't lazy. We were hardworking kids. I'm just only just saying for a conversation's sake. But we stand on the brush and we used to break the brush because we put our pressure on it, and
Don't get catch.
Our mother get mad because she have to pay like $2.50 for those brushes, and they were expensive back then. You think that was nothing, but it was a lot to spend on to buy these brushes all the time. You know, I really, when I look back on it, it was really fun. I had a lot of fun, but you know, it comes with that's the fun part of it, doing that. But then, and it comes to how the parents treat you. That's the trauma. There's they used to beat you for little or nothing, curse at you for little or nothing. I grew up so traumatized from all that stuff. It's like, and I couldn't get over it. It took me years to get over it.
So let's dig a little deeper now in journey into that abuse that you went through as a child.
You know, back in Jamaica, we didn't call it abuse. It was never a term of abuse. It was called discipline. You discipline your child. And when I look at it now, in retrospect of everything, it's just the way how culturally they raise their children. I used to be so angry at my mother. I hated her for years for what she done. But when I get older and become a mother myself and being a single mother, I think that plays a role in how people treat you. And coming from a culture, my grandparents, I have to say my great grandparents, they come out of slavery. My grandmother, parents before her back then, so coming from, and people don't realize the impact what slavery have on people in the Caribbean. And I could tell you this, everybody I met in the Caribbean, you couldn't tell me that they're not related. They're not the same blood, but because their forefathers and grandmothers were treated that way, it grew up it passed on in the genes. They are aggressive people. They say what they have to say, and all these people have this mentality, and they don't realize it. That's where it's coming from. And then now that they think they were doing. First of all, nobody talks about mental illness. Nobody talks about trauma. Nobody talks about mistreatment. They think it's just all to get the child to behave. And now people are talking about all this openly. People didn't talk about, and people didn't even talk about, and now there's so many people that was like sexually abused by a family member or somebody touching them inappropriately. Before, you never used to hear those things.
Yes.
But now all these things are coming out and open of things, what's going on. I've been touched by two people close, somebody close in my family touched me, and the other one was with a neighbor who did try to molest me right on my step. in the day. And it's a good thing that I was very strong as a child. So I fought him off, but he was a very strong man. But the reason why he ran, because if it was like we were in an isolated place, he would have overpowered me. But because it was public, it was right on my step. So if I cry out, the old neighbors and the people would hear and come. But apparently, I don't know if, because we live in a tenement yard, I don't know where the other tenants were at the time, because it was in the morning. I don't know if they were out carrying water or whatever it is. But I know that either maybe they were there and weren't aware of what was going on, but I was sitting on my step. And you probably know him. His name was Lukey. He lived right down below us where we lived. I think he had 2 boys at the time. I maybe was like somewhere between 10 and 13 at the time when it happened. And I sat there on the step, and he come up the morning and he was passing. But I realized maybe I was more closer to 13, because I noticed by the time I started in puberty, during that time, people started to talk how my body look, how my legs look, and they start to say all kinds of stuff. You start to hear stuff, because now you start to mature. People start to see you. And I remember they always said I'm gonna have this big legs, and they always say I'm gonna be big, and they make a big deal about how your figure look as a woman and when you're growing up. And the guy sat there the morning, and I don't know what he was doing, but he stopped by and saw me on the stairs, and then he started talking to me, and then he tried to touch me, and he go like this in my face, and I push his hand off, and then he tried to grab me, and I push his hand off again, and then his finger caught in my mouth at one point, and it cut the top of my gum. My gum got cut, because he was trying to hold me and I was trying to fight him, and then he tried to grab my legs and try to put his hand all over me, and I screamed out, and I think I almost fell off the stairs. That's what happened, because he had no rail. So when I turned like this and then he stopped, I almost fell, and I kind of hold on to the stair like this, and I hit my stomach on the stairs, and that's when he ran away, because it was now a big deal. Because if I had fallen and something has happened, then he would have been in big trouble, because now everybody would know that what happened.
Yeah, this is the thing.
And I never told my mother. I never told her.
Never share it with anybody.
I never shared with her when I was little, but when I was older, like maybe 10 years ago or something ago, I must have mentioned it to her, and she said, "Why you didn't tell me?" But she was the kind of mother is that very protective of you, but at the same time you were afraid to tell her things, because she would say she want you to be honest, but when I'm honest, I'm always get yelled at, or I always get slapped. Because I would say the thing verbatim, like what somebody said to me, and she didn't like it when you do that. She said, you have to pretty it up when I tell you. But I'm like, you tell me to tell you when somebody said something, how can I pretty it up when that's a lie? That's not what they said. They said this. There's a guy who did that to me one time. He said he wanted to F me. And his name was Reedy. He's dead now. Back when I was little. And when he told me that I was like 13, 14, I was going to buy the butter and I coming back. And I forgot what I did with the butter that day, because I went and buy a stick of butter. And he told me that. I start cussing at him. I said, you tell me, you big dit. And I started to call his mother into it, his sister into it. I called the whole neighborhood down on him. And then I go up and I tell my mother with the same temperament. I was like, and I'm like, I call her, and I'm like, I said, you're a friend, because she knows his mother, so they all, they were friendly with the mother. But and he was like about 19 or 20 at the time, and I was like 13, so he should never have anything to do with a young girl. And I screamed out on my head and told her that he said he wanted to, and she said, stop, don't talk to me like this. And so that kind of killed me now from telling her things.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because she always shun you, because she always said I always say what I feel and what I think. I've never was known to be a person who hide. When I was younger, I was reserved, but then after, when I started coming to my own, I had a temperament like this.
Okay.
I was fiery, and I got that way. I was that way because I was a softie by nature. I am a very soft, and I was an introverted person, but nobody would know that I am introvert. Everybody think that, oh, I am outgoing and outspoken. No, I became an extrovert because of people were taking advantage of me. They said, "Oh, you're so soft and you're too nice," and so they think they could bully you. And then when I noticed that the people who people left alone is the one who fight back. So if you fight, so when they used to tell me you're a warboat or you're terrible or you're this, I said, I'll show you what a warboat is. And then I became that warboat. I show you what a terrible person is. I'm going to show you. If you think this is something, then I'm going to show you. So I used to take what people said and show them to shut them up. But the thing about it is after a while, when you're doing that, you cause so much self-harm. You get to a point where you hate yourself and all you know is to just fight.
Yeah.
And then now I've grown out of it. It took me a while to grow out of it, and it takes a lot to grow out of that stuff.
So, leaving Jamaica, coming here, how was migration for you when you migrated here?
It was horrible because when I came, I was when I was getting to come to America, I was pregnant. Just before I came up, I had my son. And when I come here, it was horrible not having him. I wasn't ready for any child because I told my son's father that I didn't want to get pregnant. My father's fighting for me. I know I didn't have money, education, no nothing. I didn't have no place to live, so I didn't want to bring a child into this world. I see how my mom suffer, and she said, she always tell us that we shouldn't go around and have these children like what she did. She said, don't make the same mistake what I have. And she said we would never, she said, I'm going to make sure that you guys never make the same mistake that I do. And by far, we, two girls, we don't have a lot of children. One.
How many siblings you have?
I have, there were 6 of us. And I just have one child. And that's it. The girls did good. The boys, however, they have more kids. I think one of them had 1 and the others have like 4. The other one have maybe 5 or 6. But the girls, we did pretty good. We didn't follow in our mother footstep with that. I both have been married. My sister is still married. But I am the one who's been married twice. This is like unheard of in our family to somebody to ever marry twice because people don't get married. Not only did I marry once, I married twice, and I was going to get married again, but I said, no, I'm not doing it. Because I realized that marriage is not something to win. And because people make it seem so bad, and I always wanted to be married to, I want to get married because I didn't want to have children like that. And when I look at the whole thing, and then I realize that marriage ain't cut up what people think it is, And then when you get into it, you realize that they're the people that you're married to. They weren't even, you shouldn't even be married to them because they were selfish people. They were arrogant people. These are people who will not change their ways. And these are people who didn't have any social skill. These are people who didn't have any emotional stability. They feel like they could act and do or say whatever they wanted to do. These people are not ready to grow. And when you realize that marriage isn't about finding somebody and get married like because you don't want to be alone or you don't want to be single, it's not all about that. Because first of all, you have to be married to yourself. You have to love yourself. And when you love yourself, you'll have good boundaries. And there in those things I've experienced it, and I'm like, I'm never going to put myself back in that situation again. I want to be with somebody who wants to grow. Because once I realized that, first of all, not only say that they were Christian, because everybody called themselves Christian nowadays. I was married to a Christian, but you couldn't tell the difference between a Christian and an unsaved person. And this is why I don't like to use the word Christian. Because Jesus wasn't a Christian anyway. And that's another topic. I just want people to have a relationship with God. And people who wants to grow. Spiritually, emotionally, financially. They don't have no dream. I was married twice. I have the dream of first we gotta buy a house together. Build an empire. I wanted to get a gas station. I always wanted to do a business. Then we were going into the cab business because when they had the cab, because my ex, he used to be a cab driver, and yes, we said we were going to go into that, but he never pursued it. I just didn't get the support for people to follow the dreams that I have, because they're saying, oh, I have too many big dreams and I'm crazy. I have people tell me that I wanted house and I don't have any money, but I'm talking about buying a house. Friends even say that to me. I remember I remember too when I was gonna get married, and the friend said to me, "Oh, you're forcing these men to marry you because they don't marry, and they don't have anybody who wants to marry them." They were saying, "Oh, you always force men to get." I said, "I don't force nobody to get married to me. From the day my husband met me, I never liked him. When I met him, I wasn't interested at all. I didn't even know that he liked me. I just thought he was weird, and I wasn't looking for a man. I wasn't into anything." And then I was with my son, and that's how I met him. And from the day one, he said he wanted to marry. From the first time he talked to me, he tell me his name, where he's from, and everything is. And he said when he see me, his heart moved, and he just want to marry me. And then the second one, 3 months in, we met. We fell in love like 3 days, and then 3 months we get married after. So this is why I tell people, when people see something and they want it, they go after it. The people who don't want to do that, that's a whole different story. That doesn't mean that it will work or will not work. They have to put the work in it to make it work. And it's not going to be a one-sided thing. And that's what I feel like. I started to grow, and I have a different idea about things. I think that people should grow. I think that people should change. Yes, you should do it in your own time, right? When people have to pressure you and all those things. But at least you must make a conscious effort that you're doing it for you. I don't want to change for you, because I did that for my husband. My first husband. I remember one time we had a fight, and he said he was going to leave, and I begged him to stay, and he bigged up his chest. I said, "Don't leave me." And then he was telling me that, oh, he was the only man that's going to marry me or something of that sort. And it's like I should be grateful that he married me. And when I hear that, the next time we have a fight, what do you think I do?
Deuces.
He said he wanted was to leave. I said, "Great, you want to leave?" I took all of his clothes and threw it out. I said, "Get the hell out of my house." And he was like shocked, because the first time he seen me, no, I get a hold of myself. You do something one to me in a certain kind of way. And, but I loved him. But it was hard for me to get over him in the beginning. But when things start to escalate and things get really bad in the marriage, I changed, because I knew that everybody was saying that I was going to beat my husband, because everybody think that I'm such a terrible person. My personality was so aggressive that I don't let anybody get away with anything. But with him, he got away with a lot of stuff because I loved him. And the reason, one of the reasons why I stayed, I remember people were telling me that you don't give nobody no chance. You have to give people a chance, and you got to make it work, and blah, blah, blah. So I did give this one a chance, and it wasn't worth it. But what I did, it teach me a lot of things about myself, but what I need to learn to grow. And when I was with my first husband, that was what drew me closer to God. This is when I started to have a real relationship with God. This is when I know what it means to depend on God, to call on God. And I said to myself, after that, I never want to be in a situation where I have to pray and fast for a man to change. But you know what happened? He never changed one bit. Guess who changed?
You.
Everything that I prayed to ask God that God should do about that man, he did it in me. And I realized that when you pray that God should change people and remove stuff from you, he's not going to do that. He's going to make you change, because this is a thing about you. It's not about him. It's about how you have two choices in life: to be a reactive person or a responsive person. Are you going to take responsibility for your action, your words? Are you going to love yourself and love your God in spite of anything what anybody do to you? It took me a long time to learn that. And it's a hard lesson to learn because of my temperament. Because I think what changed for me in my life, I could never let go of anything because of how I was ingrained, or I was raised very harshly. And so therefore I take things deeply, and all those trauma solidified my belief. So then my belief was screwed up about a lot of things, because people were telling me, and how I was raised, my mom would tell me to do this, right? She said, she make rules, and when I follow it, I turn out to be wrong. Then I'm like, how can I be wrong when you tell me to do this and I did it? But it makes her look bad because I took it on 100%. And now she realized that the punishment and her thing was too harsh. So now she's changing it, but now it looked like I am the one who did the wrong thing when I didn't make the rules. So they make rules, I follow it, and then it was too harsh, and then I have to end up pay the penalty for it. And then after a while, I don't believe in anybody. I didn't trust anybody, so I do things for myself.
You said you have a son. Um, Tell me, raising a child after seeing all those things that your mom has done to you, you know, how did you react? How did you raise your son? So yes, you had issues with your mom growing up. So tell me about you and your son.
Well, the thing that I realized that a lot of little similarities of how I raised my son. I raised him with some of that from my mom because I don't have a father to say, but most of my influence in how I raised my son comes from my mother temperament, which was very strict. But the thing that I do differently from her, I was raised with ridicule, but no tenderness. Like, she never apologized for anything that she did wrong. She always was right. And whatever she said, go. I think I have that kind of mentality with some of the thing. Whatever I say goes and you don't speak back, that kind of a mentality. But the difference was I raised him with affection and I raised him with kindness and with love. But at the same time, it was must be hard for him because one minute I can be that and then I can
Move from 0 to 100.
right. And the thing that I didn't realize, because I was traumatized, I didn't get any counsel on that. I refused to take counsel anyways, with all fairness.
Because I think, so tell me the reason why. I know what you were saying. Please remember what you were saying. But why did you not take any counseling?
Culturally, nobody does.
Why?
That's an insult. It's a stigma. You go to counseling, they're gonna like you crazy. You people who go get counseling, this is our in our culture. You must be crazy. You're fool. Nothing wrong with me. Right. And that's a mentality. Mm-hmm. They said you should get over it and put it aside. And I thought that I was better. I was never going to be anything like her. I was never going to act with any of my aggression on my child because I loved him so much. But I realized that if you're not get help about them trauma, what you get back home. I remember when I was growing up, I was raised with a lot of curse words, Jamaican curse words, and they tell you you're a fool, you don't have no this, and just they destroy your personality. It's like they rip you down. You're black and you're referred to as a tar baby, or, you know what I mean, that kind of a thing. But then they were like, you're good for nothing, all those type of things. So you raised with that kind of a harsh stuff. And so, how can you not? And there are some people who didn't get so much exposed to it. And some people, they either would do two things. Either, it depends on the person, the type of personality you have. I am the kind of a pit bull kind of a personality. So that's not going to fly off with me. So my aggression is going to be there. Other people, if their personality is very quiet and, passive aggressive kind of person, it comes off different. Either they don't address the issue or they let it go and they pretend like they hold it in and stuff. I'm not the kind to hold it in. I'm the kind to let it out. You pinch me, I'm going to say, ha, and slap you back. Mm-hmm. So my personality was very reactive. And that's what trauma does. And people, or especially if you're a feeling kind of person, you have so much empathy. And then people do that to you, it's going to mess you up. Because all that feeling, you take and internalize it. And you think that is you. I used to think that I was the worst person on planet Earth. But yet I couldn't remember how could I be so kind and loving at times? And then yet I'm like struggling with that. I remember I used to pray and ask God, Why do I care so much for people? I want people to do well, to strive well. I give, I help, I care for people. But at the same time, if they bite me, I'm going to punch their head off. And I was like, I remember when I went to church and somebody in the church did something to me. And I started going to church and I found the sweet love of Jesus, and I was so into Jesus, right? Very fiery for Jesus. And somebody in the church did something to me. And I said, come here. I want to punch you in Jesus' name. I was ready to tear that woman up in Jesus' name. And honestly, I didn't feel like anything was wrong with it. That kind of mindset. This is how mindset. You would be out there. This is why I realize now when people do those things, they have no consciousness, awareness that what they're doing is wrong. They feel like they're right. And this is why, and this is because of unhealed trauma. God didn't say so. This is why you have to read the Bible for yourself. And when I start to read my Bible for myself, and just like I said with the ex-husband, when I start to go to God about him, God started to show me my heart. And he showed me, said, you want him to change and do this, but what about you? I used to pray in my dreams. I used to have dreams about Jesus coming for the world, and I was worried if my mother and my siblings are saved. And you know what in the dream it said to me? You worried about them, but what about you?
And this is something that Christians do, right? They always worry about the other folks,
The other person.
and by rights, you need to think about your salvation. You have to. It's like you cannot. I hear Lisa Nichols says, she would prefer to pour out to you out of the saucer, because when the tea is in the cup, you give somebody out of your cup, you're giving your all away instead of giving them the overflow.
And I did that for years, and that's why I was miserable and unhappy, because everybody I helped, they were so ungrateful. They were like, it's like there are some people you give, and the more you give, it's the more they take, And some people, everything they see you, they want this, they want that. And you know what? Some of the people are aggressive. This is how they come to you. I don't have any food and I don't have any money. And they know that you're kind. And they know that they're appealing to your soft spot. Because if you hear, I always have a ear for people who is in
because
need.
you were there once.
Right. And my thing is because I help so many people because I never get the help that I need. You know that out of all my mother children, I am the least that she helped. And you know what she said? I didn't have to worry about you. I'm the only one that she didn't have to worry about. Can you imagine? I'm number 4. I'm the only one that she didn't have to worry about. And I'm the only one that I can say everybody lived with me at one point.
What's the relationship with you and your mom?
We have none. I just stop it. I end it because I couldn't handle it. I couldn't deal with it. I tried to always have a relationship, but it was never working. But what I did that freed me over the past year, I apologized to her for all the yelling and anger that I poured out on her, because I know she would never be the mother that I want her to be. She would never honestly apologize for anything that she did. Her term is like, if I did something, or if I did this, or she likes to tell you, you don't know what I go through. She deflected it. It's never about, I did this to you and I'm sorry. She said, oh, could I hurt somebody like you? And you're so kind to me. And oh, I love you. Oh, could I not love you? That's not what I want to hear. I want to hear the real heart-to-heart talk about, I really care about you. I did this to you. I may not have a good reason to give you. I can't explain what I did, but I know that you're hurt by what I did, and I'm truly sorry for that. Or nothing is not going to come. So you know what I do? Every time I try to help her, she said, don't cause any trouble. Don't cause any conflict. It doesn't matter what I do. I'm always causing conflict and causing trouble. And this is what I'm saying. If I am going out of my way to help, why am I causing conflict in people's life? And why am I causing trouble in everybody's life who I want to help? And even when I help them, they're in a better situation than they were before. Mm-hmm. But in the process of it, I ruffle feathers. So you know what I do? I am not wanted. And if if what I'm doing for you I think is good, and the good comes with conflict and all these things, I'm not gonna do it. That's not good, because people kill you with kindness and they kill you with goodness, and they come and tell you, oh, I know you're not gonna like this, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. That's the mentality, and to be honest, they don't have a clue what they're doing. My thing is, I've come to a point in my life, I forgive everybody who's done me wrong, and I forgive my mom, and I apologize to her, and I hope she forgive me. So she said she'd do. And so I realized that we are never, ever, ever gonna have that kind of a relationship. Especially now she have dementia, so it's even worse. And after a while, she's not gonna remember who I am, so that's gonna be great. But the thing about it is that I have come to the realization of awareness that my expectation of people is wrong. I should not hold people expect this thing of this person when they can only do this. They're doing the best that they can do, and I have to be at peace with it and say they are who they are as a person, and they're doing the best that they can.
They can.
They're not. I used to think that they were after me and they hated me, but I realized they don't hate me because they don't even love themselves to hate anything. And I understand that they're in situation, they're not have that consciousness where they can see that even though they're Christians and they pray and they worship God, they can't see that their mindset is wrong, because they're so heavenly heavenly whatever,
Heavenly mind, or
heavenly
heavenly bound.
and they're so earthly. When it comes to practical earthly things, they have nothing about it, and they use the fact that they're. I think I noticed this. This is a kind of spirit that I'm aware of, and I realize that a lot of people are operating under it. Right? They have this thing where they're like, oh, well, they believe that they believe in Jesus, right? And they believe that whatever they do, I believe in Jesus and I love the Lord, but I can be as mean-spirited to this other person. And there's nothing wrong with it because I'm telling them the truth. And you're looking at that and I'm like, well, how does that portray Christ? These people, they can be so sweet spirit. Oh, I'm up there with the Lord. They can give you visions and they can pray for you and tell you all of that. And the way they talk to you, the way they think about you, and what they say to you is so damaging that they feel like they're right. And if so, God forbid you ever tell them the truth and you show them that what they're saying is it's not right, they're gonna say, oh, you're not supposed to correct them, because you have this and this and this wrong with you, and even when you change, they would say, tell people when you come together and this is how they see you. Oh, we have to put you in a little room because if she ever get angry, we have to put that in. But you're not angry. If you talk like this, the way I'm talking now, I am angry and I'm fighting. So it's like everything about you, they use that as a deflect to show how like an horrible person you are, and you never change, and you're that. But the thing about it is, nobody ever. That's why the woman said, T.D. Jake's daughter said, you have to reintroduce yourself to people because I'm no longer the same person you think I am, and that's what I'm learning to do. Reintroduce myself to people. Well, they may accept it or not accept it, but I don't care. I'm moving on.
Well, one of the things that I see happen with family members, even people that you grew up with, they say you leave Jamaica when you leave their present. You don't even have to leave Jamaica.
Yes.
You leave their present when you're about 15, 16.
Yes.
You know, you never grew up.
Yes.
That's the same thing they're seeing every time they see you. No care where you reach in life.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
And I had a friend too that I had to stop talking to like that too. She said to me, no, I come here, I have words. She know me when I was a little kid. Oh, and a teenager. So I left Jamaica like when I was 20. She haven't been with me all this time. I'm married and I have kids and all these type of things. And now I went to college, so now I have a little words, because before I never have words. I go by what people said and I follow. I was very kind of engaged. You know what she said to me? She said, "Oh, I remember we used to tell you things and you never remember anything." I never remember anything, she said. And then the other thing she said, "You never had words. You always like agree and we never have nothing. But now you're telling me stuff." She said, "No, you become a teacher trying to tell me what to do," because she's older than me.
Teach on, teach on.
So now I am telling her things, and she said, "Oh, you have those things about you now, and now you have these things." And she said, "Oh, you now I'm acting like I'm a white woman." I'm like, "Excuse me?"
Question: have that person ever traveled to this country?
Never.
Okay, there you have it.
Never. And so I just then I didn't even know that she holds me up for years. And then she tell me one day, because I wasn't giving her any money now, I used to take care of her real well. And then I decided I got my house, because that's when I said I'm going to cut people off, because I'm by my house, so I can't be giving away my money like what I did before. So I bought the house, so I started put the money in my house, and then she was asking me for money. I said no, because when I wanted to get money to do my down payment, I go to everybody I know, family and friends, everybody who said they loves me and who wants to help, and I talk to everybody. Nobody. People got mad at me, said the only time I talk to them is when I want money. And me, only when I want money, I go to who? Which family member can I go to? I remember there was a person that I go to like 3 times. And that was said that in my whole life that I ever asked for about money or anything from them is about 3 times. And then they're going to say, and I have one promise me, "Oh, if I had money, I would have really give you." And when they come into some money, it's a fraud for them to give me money. So everything started. So you know what? I didn't get it. But I worked, and God opened the door for me. God opened the door. God opened the door for me that I am able to do it. So I work, and I have 2 people in my life, 2 of my friends. I met one of them when she was 19, and I met the other one at church. And they have been my support. I don't have many friends. I don't have a lot of friends, because I started to cut people off, because I realized that they don't mean me no good. And because my mind is, I'm a talker, and I think I talk too much sometimes. I share too much of myself with people. Whatever I feel, I'm open, I'm a sharer. I like to encourage people. I like to inspire people. But at the same time, when I'm going through stuff, they would hear. So I made my circle, I learned to make my circle very, very small, because I get so excited about things and I want to tell somebody, "Oh, this is what I'm doing, and this is what you can do too," and stuff. And I try to get people to buy a house. I try to get people to do business with me. None of them. And everybody has some excuse why they can't do it, and it's either when I was getting this house, I remember they said, "But you live so far, you have to go to work." I said, "Listen, but I have a house. I live far, but you know what? I work, and therefore I do my thing so that I can pay for whatever I do." It's just amazing.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a caregiver. I take care of people who have dementia, who has Alzheimer. I try to leave it, because I go back to school. I said I was going to go do computers when I was younger, and it didn't work out, because after I do the computer, graduated from school, I had a head-on collision. So that's a turning point in my life. And it was one of the worst thing that happened to me, but it turned out to be one of the best thing that ever happened. Because you know what, with that, the head injury, what it did for me, it gives me the opportunity to change where I am and who I am. It gives me the opportunity to start over again, because I didn't want to start over. I couldn't let go of stuff, and with that, I was able to let go of a lot of things. And now it makes me able to face my struggles. And I've been working on, I did so many deep work on myself. I went to one counselor and I sat in her chair and she talked to me. I didn't have money to continue it, and I never went back. But I read every book there is on the issues that I go through. So I went to college for psychology, and I get all the professors and the social worker to answer the questions that I was having. in the issues that I was having and the topic that was discussed. And so I turned it into a whole big thing. And so that was part of my healing. I find groups that have stuff that would give me the tools that I need to fix myself.
Okay. I heard, earlier you mentioned about your father, and I just want to go back to that. Journey back to that because the question I have for you on that: did you ever meet your father? Do you know who that person is?
Yes, I've lived with him when I came to the U.S. I lived with my dad, but it never went well. He said he was going to be a father to me. He said, but when I come, he never did that. It was more like I was a tenant, and I had to pay rent. I had to pay all that stuff, and I just feel like it was unfair to pay all that when he never really supported me when I was growing up. And it was the time that he helped me was here and there and far in between, So I just feel like, but I did pay the rent. I did pay. I was working $80 a week, and I was paying him $50 a week out of my 80 a week. And plus, I had to take money and save to send back home for my son. So there was measly. And then when I found out that if I do live in, I could make $5.25, and I would come home with maybe three something a week. So I started to do that, and that's what helped me a lot, But I went through some struggles. Living in America, these people think that I was living off high. When I come to America, I was shocked when I went to the Bronx. It was dirty, it was filthy, there were a lot of criminal activities going on. The place looked so disgusting. Even in Manhattan was stinking dirty. The place where Vera Wang was, the big fashion designer, outside looked like a dumpster. You could never believe how all these things what you hear and see, wasn't like that. I was shocked. It's a concrete jungle. It was horrible. It was one of the worst places that I could ever think. But people were living the life, and money and all these things was going on. I was surprised when I came to Boston now, maybe because I was in the ghetto, but when you go out of that area and you get to see beautiful place and stuff, and then you start to see things with money and stuff, and then my aunt invited me to come to Boston, and that's why I'm here in Boston. My dad was never a dad to me. He's more like a friend. That's the kind of relationship we have. Like, I know him. I call him up and we talk and we joke. That's the kind of relationship we have. But I had to forgive him too and realize that I never going to have the father. So when people talk about, when I hear my sister talk about her dad, I cried. Because he's everything to her what I would wanted him to be to me. And it's unfortunate
you never get that opportunity.
I never know him in that way.
Okay.
And when she talks about him, she said, I don't know what you're talking about. My dad did this. My dad take me place. My dad comb my hair. My dad do. He combs her hair. He takes her to school and give her allowance and cooks and clean and everything for her. So she knows what it is. Maybe in my earlier age, my mom said he did that maybe when I was a baby. But when they split up, he never, whatever that happened, that was happened when I maybe was a baby. But not for me enough to realize or to experience anything. I only heard, but I never seen it, never got it, never heard. What I had is a friend. He's just like a friend.
So what did you hear about your dad when you were growing up? Why he leave? Do you know the reason why he left?
I know. I was there.
Oh, okay.
That's why I am so messed up. I remember I remember the fight. I maybe was 2.5 years. I maybe either 2 years or 3 years. I was that young. I remember the fight that he came by and he want the television. That's what I remember. And he want the television, and there was a big arguing back and forth. And he want his TV. And my mom was mad because she wasn't going to give him the television. And she went inside and she ripped that shit up. Popped the wires up on the inside and put maybe salt or whatever she did. She put some stuff in it, and then she threw that freaking television. I told her, give him TV and let him go on. That's what I said as a child. I remember saying that to her. I said, give him TV and make him go on. And then she threw the damn TV out, and I watched him left. That's when I felt abandoned. That's when I have this thing that nobody loves me, they're gonna leave. And I always leave men before they leave me because of that. And I don't know. I didn't know when I got married. I didn't know what a marriage looked like, what a healthy marriage looked like. I know that me and him fought, but I thought it was okay to fight because that's my temperament and that's his temperament. I didn't realize it was not okay to be having these fights. And I realized that the fights were too much because I couldn't deal with it because he was fighting every week. He was looking for something to fight because his personality loves the fight. And I could see he relished in the fight. And it makes him like, and he laughed and he would get into it and dig into it. And then I realized, then when God started to, but before I realized that, I go to God and then God started to show me that, no, you're the one need to change because this is something about him. He loves that. And then I start to see him. He have me watched him to see his behavior. And then I realized that it wasn't me because I thought it was me was the one. Because, my parents, my mother said and my brother them said, oh, Mother Pepper, Mother Fire, everybody called me, my uncle. So they made me believe that I was the one who's always having instigation. I'm the one who's starting stuff. And because they always say, because I like to argue, they said, you don't let go of anything. So therefore, I'm known as the person too. But the thing is, it's not that I am. When I say things, it's because I trigger them. Because I tell people the truth about situation and stuff. I'm not saying I'm a sure or 100%, but I'm always telling people what to do a better way of things. I know there is a better way, but I don't know how to go about get people to do the better way. You see what I'm saying? So, I always know that I was good at knowing this is not right, this is not how you do it, but I couldn't tell you how because I've never seen it modeled to me.
Tell me a little about your business that, I know you have a little side hustle going on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do a little bit about it. Yeah. My little side hustle is skin and hair care that I do on the side, and that's something that I went into it because I was looking for extra cash and I needed I'm fixing my house and I said, oh, I needed that. But then when I look into it a little bit more, I liked the woman that I talked to, my mentor. She was so great with it. And then I realized that this is not only just a side hustle. It has to do with also taking care of yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing I found out. Because normally we do a little, cleansing of the face, or most people do soap and water, or they just don't do anything at all, a little lotion and stuff. But since I started this, it makes me feel so good inside to know that I'm really taking time to take care of my skin, which normally it's not just include soap and water. It includes moisturizer, little scrub, facial scrub, and all these this little cream that makes you glow, makes your skin feel better. The fact that you could take the time out and love on yourself, I call it self-care. So now I'm doing the self-care with Dream. I really feel good about it, and I encourage women to do it too, because we don't give ourselves not even 5 or 10 minutes to really nourish ourselves and nourish our skin and take care of ourselves. And it's an amazing feat. You feel really good about it.
What would you say to somebody who is, from the whichever country they're from, not just Jamaica, but what would you say to those people who have been through trauma? What would be your advice?
For me, to tell you that you should all go see a therapist, that would be hypocritical of me, because I still feel like if that's not your thing, there are some people who just can't do it. I'm not one of them who can, but maybe later on in the future, I might. I am more open to it now than I was before, And so the thing about it, I just feel like for me, because I am such a self-aware person, I am so into self. I live from the inside out and I do the deep work. I am the kind of person who like to do things with my own hands. I like to see my own progress come. If you're that kind of a person who like to do things for yourself because it makes you feel stronger, it gives you a sense of joy that you're working on yourself and you feel great and you go through these things. And I feel like, for me, a lot of things that I would say would offend other people. So I try not to do that. That's why I tend to do it for me, because I think if I go to therapy, I know it's going to be bad, because they tell me something, I don't like it, I'm not going to back down from it, and I don't want to be that kind of a person. So I feel like because I had the rage in me, I rather work it out on myself, and that's what I did. And so for them who need, there are some people you need other people to talk to, then you go get, I think you should go see someone. If that's your personality, you have to, it doesn't matter if you go see a person or you don't see a person, you need to work out your trauma. You need to get the books, you need to listen to other people, and you need to do the work. Journaling is good. Write out how you feel, write out how you want it to feel. Dig deeper in yourself and talk to your God so that God can help you get over this hurdle. And for every negative feeling that you feel, find 10 good things of how you want to feel. And you have to really be honest with yourself and say, this is who I am right now, but this is not where I want to be, and my best is yet to come. Because the more you look at your inside and look at who you are and you work on it, make the changes necessary to get where you want to do. And that's all I'm doing. I'm always in some kind of a mindset training. Now I just started to do this, working with this coach to help me to get my trillionaire mindset, because I want to be extremely wealthy. I don't say I want to be, but I am wealthy already. And the idea is to become the person who you want to be. Because you know the scripture said, if you come to God, you must come believing that you already received what you want. And the key is, for you want to be whole, then you have to act like a whole person. If you want to be wealthy, you have to be acting like you're already wealthy. You have to put your mindset in what it is meant to be whole, what it meant to be well, and then you have to start to live your life and do things that remind you of what you said you are. And that's the thing that what I'm doing now. It's not easy. You know, some days you're going to be good at it, some days you're going to be bad. But that's called development. That's called life. It's okay to fall. It's okay to fail. So long as you keep on doing what you need to do, because one day you're going to become very strong at it, and one day you're going to be an amazing person. You're going to realize, oh my God, I don't feel triggered by this anymore. It's gone. I don't feel bad. That's what happened to me. I keep on doing it, and when I'm around people who I know try to make me hot under the collar, I smile and I walk out the room and I'm saying, oh, it's time for me to go now. You have a wonderful day. Don't let people bring you back to the person that you were 10 years ago when you know you've been working on yourself. So sometimes I know what, as much as I talk, I know how to be quiet. There's a time when I wouldn't speak to anybody. And that's the key. If I'm hot, I'm triggered, I won't say nothing. I'll be quiet. I'd rather be quiet than lose my temper. I'd rather be quiet than lose all this wonderful work that I've done in me. And when I do it, I feel so great. I feel powerful because now they are not running my emotion. They're not managing me. And I know that the person who get into temper and reactive, that's the person who lost the conversation. You just lose when you lose. And I watch people, I used to do that, get out of control. And I look at me and I'm like, but I lost. And I'm like, why do I lose when I'm right? Because I lost control. Control yourself. Learn self-control. Discipline yourself. If you can do that, you'll be amazing. Any person that you think need a changing in the room, it's me. My prayer is, God, change me to make me just like you. Because the more we change to become like Christ, is the better it is for our life. I find peace in all this change. Since I can shut up and be quiet and be still, he said, be still and know that I'm God. I am so empowered. I refuse to let somebody pull me out of where I am now.
Sorry. Okay. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you coming, and I appreciate what you're sharing.